The views and the opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities of LFTP Productions.
Oh, Chonka.
Yeah, hey, that's kind of like my Jay Prince. Yeah. Hey, man, we have a wonderful show planned. I can finally get the Facebook argument on tape, because this the crew right here. When all the Facebook arguing and debating pop off, it's right here. Hey, man, first off, if you don't know who I am Boy Drew the Charm Guy, king of controversial, uncomfortable conversations. And that's what we do here every week. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, throw 50K in the chat. Why? Because we have a 50,000 subscriber movement going on this channel. And we're going to get it. Why? We want 50,000 people here to have uncomfortable, controversial conversations with us. Hey, man, to my right, man, I got my boy Rob Gillette in the house. Awesome rapper, great music, great debater. To my left, y'all already we got the Grizzly Adams, man. That he back again. We finna have some flames. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself because you got a nice little way you just let yourself in, man. Go ahead, man.
I'm gonna ask Dens if I can borrow, because from now on we just throw up the extra 10X in the building, dog. It's 10X, man. Ride to 10X, man. You know, that's Southside philosophy.
Hey, man, let's go ahead and clap it up, man. Clap it up. We got a great show planned, man.
We come to cleanse the north side with all this south side clear shit.
Hey, man. Oh, man. Ooh, boy. It's a lot of places we can go. It's been a lot of hot topics going on. I think I'm going to just get right into it. I saw Nancy Mace going off on this USAID thing about how much money was wasted of taxpayer dollars, of money, like $2 million going to South Africa for men having sex with men in South Africa. That's wild. Like, to South Africa. There's men having sex with men here in America. But the fact that money went, there was quite a bit of waste to me that went out that we hadn't even heard of. I don't think there's been a time that I've watched politics, American politics, when I've heard of that much waste from the government. We always it's a conspiracy, but that's wild. You had something to say about it. I saw your last. You got notes?
No, I'm just looking at. I had to see when she was first elected. Everybody that speaks out on USA, I'm going to see when they were elected.
Okay.
I want to see if you were newly elected and you've never had any experience in funding Congress. I'm down with your movement. If you've been in office, such as this woman, since 2021, that meant for 4 years straight, you've approved the budget of USAID. And now all of a sudden, now I'm not saying that I don't have no problem with the auditing, no problem at all. I have a problem with people who have been contributing to the problem, spewing it like it's only one party doing this, or spewing it like their hands are absent of funding this. Congress appropriates funds. That's basic civics. So if you're a congressional member speaking out against USAID and you haven't been consistently voting against it, man, that's some bullshit to me. It's that simple.
So this is Nancy Mace.
Yeah, Nancy Mace's been in office since 2021,
and she's voted in
man,
approving.
now look, I can go and see her voter record.
Right.
My point is, she's been in office since 2021.
Right.
And I can go and see if she's made any comments about it. Just like I went and looked up for the Secretary of State, because they're saying that they're going to move USAID to the State Department, right?
Right.
Under Marco Rubio, former senator from Florida. Man, you can go look up Marco Rubio's connections and things he said about USAID as recently as 2023. He spoke about how the humanitarian aid is pivotal for American interests across the world. He consistently voted for it. Now he's the person in charge of quote unquote dismantling it. Man, all of this is some dog whistling, man. It's all fuck shit, because at the end of the day, in 2 years, if they lose they majority in Congress, we'll start funding what they want. It's really that simple.
What's your thoughts on that, Grizz?
Here's the thing. I'm looking at something that says that we gave 1.5 million a Serbian LGBTQ group to quote advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplace as well. Both 1.5. I don't care who telling what. I'm sick of my tax dollars going some shit like that. I think it's very ironic though that the left is kind of crashing about this, but ain't nobody once said, nah, we not doing that. You got career politicians that's under a salary of $184,000, $250,000, and they're worth $5.6 million. I don't know if y'all good at math, but I'm for sure if you've been making $180,000 for 20, 30 years, your net worth still not gonna equal out to 5.6 in this economy. People who make $180,000 a year, $250,000 a year, staying in $4.5 million homes. It's a bunch of kickback. Me personally, I don't care who exposed it. I've been debating with people all day. Elon Musk this and Elon, I don't know who was in charge of that 2-3 years ago. They don't know it either. I just think that the narrative is Elon's with Trump. Trump is wrong, and no matter what in people's mind Trump is wrong, expose it. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. I don't care what it is, dismantle it. My tax dollars, I bust my ass. I'm sure just like everybody else here bust their ass. That shit disgusting to me, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. To be taking our bread and what was it, a border in Venezuela, DEI, they getting, I'm like, what the, when we here busting our ass and you gotta go triple time just to make a living, man, that's crazy to me, bro.
A gas station in Afghanistan that doesn't have any customers. Hey, it's money laundering. Like, let's be honest, it's definitely money laundering. Now, I believe that it's some wonky shit going on both sides. That's your favorite word, wonky. But I do think it's egregious. Here's my thing, to your point. I understand what you're saying, and I really would like to see in what way did Nancy Mace vote or anybody that was conservative Republican, how they voted. But why are we just now hearing about this?
That's what I want to ask. I'm not as, up on the recent politics as you are. Like, what is this information? Like, is it in response? Did it just come out? Was it revealed?
It's about Doge. It's about Doge,
Okay, the Elon said.
That's not a department, first off. Let's throw that out there. You can't just, an executive branch can't just make a government department like that unilaterally. So there's some shit that he got approval till basically 2026 to look into the spending of America, like just bottom line. He now has access to the Treasury Department. They have access to everybody's social. They who knows what they gonna do with this information. He may not do nothing with it, but I'm asking y'all, how comfortable would y'all feel if any other, keep it a bean, if Joe Biden had brought in, let me think of an equivalent, let me think of Mark Cuban. Let me just give Mark Cuban.
Right.
For the record, I would have.
I'm not comfortable.
I would have a problem with Mark Cuban doing this as well.
If he was exposing this shit, I wouldn't care.
He's not exposing anything.
I wouldn't care, but he is exposing it to the public because we didn't know.
He's not. But this is the
what I was
thing.
gonna ask, was this already known?
You didn't know that they were spending that money.
Well, let me tell you that I didn't know.
Real.
I didn't know that they were spending $2 million on that. But I do know that shit is a very small percentage of our tax percentage. We could go break down what actually USAID is coming out of our tax dollars. I have a problem with anybody, especially a black person, saying stuff like my tax dollars. That's what white folks say about us all the time. Well, my tax dollars shouldn't go to this and that. You don't even know what your tax dollars go to. I just got into an argument with some people about food stamps. You feel me? Oh, man, you shouldn't be used food stamps for junk food and all that. I say, man, do you even know my tax dollars? I don't want to pay for you to eat ho-hos. I say, my nigga, the average American spends about $309 per year on food benefits. And $250, $60 of that goes to SNAP benefits. The other goes to efforts for farming and for like children eating school and breakfast and all that shit. Y'all don't even know where your tax dollars is going to. That's number one. If we're that concerned about that stuff, again, I don't think the USA should be spending like that.
Right.
I don't have a problem with it. I do have a problem with, wait a minute. But the people who doing outside of Elon, the people who are in charge of this, let's not act like Trump wasn't president from 2016 to 2020.
Right.
Like,
First off, okay, so I think this is a time where we're seeing that we need education politically, especially when we talk about black and brown people, because we typically have just been trying to keep the oppression off our neck. I mean, we spent the last 300 to 400 years trying to just survive. So we're in a space now politically where we can have the conversation of, especially when you think about class, right? Class and where we are economically, where we've been to where we were previously. We're now asking these questions. Okay, if I'm in the $100,000 price, salary range, even just over 60. I mean, if you're over $50,000 in America, you're over the average income earner. Just off that,
Definitely
okay?
for black people.
Especially for black people. So you want to know, okay, when you start to hear tax dollars and where it's being dispersed, it is an issue. I'll go to junk food though. It was like that at one time. It used to be like that one time with benefits with food stamps. You couldn't buy like name brand things. You only could buy a certain amount of food. And in all honesty, because of our people and where we are culturally, I am actually for that from a health standpoint. But I think
Let me ask you this
Go
question.
ahead.
As somebody from Sunnyside,
Right.
implement that in Sunnyside.
It's gonna be implemented if they say you can't do it.
Where they gonna get some healthy food options at in Sunnyside?
That's what and listen, this is why I said I wanted Trump in. Because we don't have a magnifying glass on what our real issues are. We're in just a state of comfort. So we got to start like food deserts. Now I know I don't want to put the cart before the horse because we're going to talk about Hispanic communities and how they have a great economic, like as far as grocery stores, meat markets, and things like that. And I'll talk about why we need to make them a political alliance. But we don't have that. We got Watkins, nigga. We got Watkins. What else we got?
You want to know
Sheffield.
something? What we don't have, as opposed to any other, because we not an immigrant.
You
group,
having some trouble with that?
With any other minority group, man. We're Americans. All right, it's that simple. We're Americans. We speak the same language as our oppressor.
Come on.
You feel me? We don't have a nation to do any commerce with. I'm from A-Leaf, bro. When I moved to A-Leaf in 93 on Corporate in Bel Air, you feel me? The Chinatown literally stretched from about Ranchester to maybe the Beltway. That's a 3-block walk, man. The Chinatown now extends from Ranchester. As soon as you cross over Gessner and Bel Air, from all the way down, it going all the way to Highway 6. Cook Road, my hybrid block, I'm a hybrid Cook Road 9700 nigga. We got Vietnamese signs,
That's power.
and they're 12% of the population in A-Leaf.
That's power. Think about how powerful that is.
But-
your signs are in your native
But
language.
you know what they have, though? Go look at those banks when you right there by Corporate. You do see a Chase, but you see a Bank of Hong Kong. You see in China. You seeing all of these different banks that are backed by different nations. That's why I'm telling niggas, man, stop comparing yourself to an immigrant group.
Yeah,
we
facts.
don't have, even Mexico.
Can we get a clap for that? Let's clap that
We
up.
don't have no,
Gotta clap that up.
like we can't, I'm talking about even Africans, Haitians. Well, I won't include Haitians. That's a very poor nation. They ain't got shit. No disrespect to Haiti. But African nations, all of them can say that, man. They have a language that they can go and do business under. The $1 million Hispanic man and the poor dude in the barrio can at least connect on a language barrier. You feel me? They can do business under that language. They got Asian newspapers that we don't know shit they saying. We got the Ford Times. Shout out to them. I got the 3rd best album of the year behind Beyonce. I had to throw that
Shout
out
out
there.
to Ford
Oh,
Times.
Ford
But
Times,
we
though.
got that, but it's in English. So we can't hide any of our information from our oppressors. So it's like, man,
I've always said that the conservative white man and the heterosexual black man are really politically aligned and best friends. People may not like that. They don't know what I'm saying, but it's what you just said. We are the American Negro is the creation of the white man. You can't run away from that. You cannot run away from being the creation of that because, and we broke this down last episode. We talk about 1619. So we talk about 1619 Jamestown, and we get all the way up to 1865. How far removed are we from Africa? This is why I don't like Pan-African talk. I don't like Pan-African talk. It don't make sense because what nation are you gonna go do business with when this is your nation right here?
This is
Now
our
let me
home.
say something about but when we talk about Hispanic politics though, right? Mexican American politics. We should be careful because I think they have a closely related parallel to us in terms of having a form of oppression. I'm not going to do what they say the oppression Olympics is. And I'm not going to spend too much talking about something that I don't have no business talking about. But I will say this because, again, when I talk about Mexican American and black alignment politically, this is going to be very important. They have a divide. They're not the same. You know, you even have Tejanos, right? When we talk about people that we assume that every Mexican American we see has come from Mexico here. That's not true. We also have this assumption that politically they align, and that's not true. And we're seeing that. We see a strong political alignment with them and ourselves at times, but then we do see a racial divide. So there's issues there for sure.
I don't think it's a real. I mean, I got to say this with all due respect to the Hispanic culture. If our only commonalities are our absolute atrocities of such, or our worst conditions, I don't think we that align with each other. If you telling me that what makes us align is because we receive some mistreatment from the police, I can't necessarily feel like we align together. Because when I come down Gulfton, you feel me? When I go in any of them areas, when I used to stay in Maryland and I cross Renwick, cross Bissonnette, and when it becomes the Hispanic area, I ain't able to go get no job in none of them places. I just got to keep it a bean. And I'm not saying they should hire me.
Right.
I think you should look out for those that you represent. But this idea that I never was caught up in this black-brown coalition.
They not like us.
And it's not even to say.
They not
I
like
definitely
us,
don't
bro.
believe in PLC. Let me say that.
Right, man, I hate PLC.
I don't believe in PLC. But the only reason why I say that because there isn't really another ethnic group. There is not another ethnic group that will willingly live with niggas outside of them.
Shit, really?
Indians ain't trying to do it. Asians ain't really trying to do that. Even though A-Leaf has a little.
A-Leaf is an anomaly.
It's an anomaly. But when you think about Mexican American people, for instance, I'm from South Park. I grew up with Mexicans. I heard Mexicans say a nigga. That don't bother me. I've heard. I know that some black people have had an issue with that. But when I think about just the choice in where they will live and how they will grow with us, if you think of the other ethnic group that we will align with, it will be them outside of anybody else. Now, I'm going to be honest. Indians, and I'm not talking about Native Americans, Indians have a caste system in their country.
Facts.
They don't like niggas. I don't even know why.
They don't like themselves.
Yeah, like they have a caste system, okay? Asians really just be with Asians. They don't like to venture out to anybody.
Well, even within the Asians, it's divides in their community.
Yeah, it's
you know
divides.
what I'm saying? Like, it ain't. It's my man. I got a real controversial fucking take.
Take it. Come on, that's what we do here.
Man, and being on Clubhouse reinforced this idea, dog.
Come on.
Seriously. Black people and white people are essentially the same people in America.
Man.
Now, our treatment, historical treatment, yes. No, we didn't receive the same treatment. We didn't receive the same privileges. But when you talk about what makes up a people, language, religion, music, things of that nature, food, like we go shopping at Randall's, we shop at H-E-B. There's no black and white grocery store per se. Now there's poorly funded grocery stores. They generally come in our neighborhoods. But the food, the products, Kraft, feel me, Pillsbury, we all drink the same things. Our worldview is very narrow as white and black Americans. And this reinforced this being on Clubhouse, listening to these people argue every day for 4 years. And it's mostly about black and white issues. That's our world. Other races, it's like, man, yeah, we obviously we just got finished speaking about other groups. But in America, the conversation is dominated with black and white. And I don't think we that different from each other. Now, I know a lot of niggas be, nah, we ain't the devils and all that. And I get that. You feel me? We ain't, but I don't think most white folks got the privilege that I think most of them trash in terms of you got this lead and y'all really ain't got shit.
Hey, let me ask you this, though, 'cause I feel the same. I think I posted like 2 years on Facebook. I believe that white people and black people are secretly in love with each other. You know, I think we in a relationship and we won't let either leave.
It's toxic, huh?
Yeah, it's a toxic relationship, but
Our fates are tied to each other as Americans, man.
Yeah, we won't, like, because it started with just us and them. You know, there's like, we've been here from the beginning. Everybody else came, you know, and I came across some interesting information, too. I'm going to double verify, but it looks like it's true. During the time of civil rights, the country was 90% white. it was like I didn't realize how much the dynamics really changed. But to your point about the white and black connection, one of the things I was talking to my boy about, how much do we factor in that as Black Americans that we are, now this might be controversial as well, we are partially white in our ancestry. My great-grandmother's mother is white. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have to look far on any of our like ancestries to find.
Look at me, I'm a yellow nigga up here, red, whatever.
We are kind of mixed. We do have a, and that kind of, it's a weird thing, right? Because if a part of our ancestry, even a minor part, right, is the fact that, we do have that in our ancestry, then on a tricky level, we would be descendants of slaves and slave owners. That kind of is a breed for confused people, so it's like, it is a weird connection that we have with each other.
I'm going to let you go because you got something to say, so hold tight to it. But I will say this too. How many people in the United States are fully white? My father told me this one time. He said, 10 minutes? My father told me this one time. He said that real white people have blonde hair and blue eyes. I didn't understand that. I really didn't understand that until I got a little older and we think about ethnic backgrounds. You see a lot of brunettes, blonde, even these curvaceous white women with these nice shapes. They don't look like the white women of the 80s where they had them flat backs. And, these women, to your point is, that to me screams of some ethnic mixing right there. So I believe it's happening. It's happening on both sides.
Just real quick, just to add, not to interrupt your wisdom, but that goes to Bacon's Rebellion. I might be mispronouncing, but that was when, initially, all poor people were pretty much in the servitude. And then when that rebellion, when the poor blacks and the Irish and everyone rebelled and all, it was killing, that's when, whiteness was pretty much created.
Right.
And so it's not really, whiteness isn't something that you can like trace to a particular, you have to be from here to be white. Whiteness is a creation of, America, so I don't know what a real white person.
Man, real whiteness in America would probably be the Anglo-Saxon white because they essentially are Western Europeans. Like even the idea of Caucasians, right? We know that the Caucasus Mountains is in Eastern Europe somewhere. Like those people like are nowhere near the Germanic people, the English people. Like now they might have some connections if you go 2,000-3,000 years in the past. But they had, like, think about this, the Irish weren't accepted, the French weren't accepted, Italians, other Europeans weren't accepted. If you weren't a Protestant Anglo-Saxon person, you were not white. That was they.
And I think that's where the connection comes in, because technically black and white is considered a race. You could be black, anybody can come, an African could come, a Haitian could come, they be like, they black, but they really not black. We consider black, just like a white man come in, he might be Jew, and he really not considered white. So I think that's kind of like a connection we both got to, because we both kind of identify based off our race in America of white and black, but it really doesn't mean so much as an ethnic thing or where you reside or where your people started at. It's just here on this land, you white, I'm black. So I think that's a connection that we got. And of course, as of late in the years, we've rightfully so, we've separated ourselves and said, hey, we FBA, we foundational black here. You feel what I'm saying? And to me, that makes sense because everybody always separated themselves from us. I know a lot of people are not always with that, but me personally, I love it because I feel like people have always went out their way to say, hey, I'm not black, I'm from such and such, and I ain't got no problem with that. You feel me? But I think with them as well, I'm white. No, I'm not white. I'm Irish. I'm from Scottish. I'm from Israel. I'm from anywhere. But he could be like, no, I'm actually an American white person. You feel what I'm saying?
And just and then when you get into the sociology of the correct ethnicity, it's just so confusing, and we can credit a lot of that, to Jesse Jackson contributions. But like even the term African American, right? You know that you can't be born in Africa and be an African American. It's like by definition, an African American has to be an American descendant of slaves. So the correct ethnicity of somebody, like say a Nigerian moves to America, the correct ethnicity of them is Nigerian American. Like you can't even be an African American born in Africa. There's so much confusion behind.
With the FAMU. I told you, kind of give a clap. Give a clap for that man right
there. We always celebrate the yard.
Hey, you know what else is? That's a debate we had, of course, during the election when the whole Kamala thing, and somebody was like, you ain't African Jamaican.
Yeah.
You ain't African Haiti. You ain't African Mexican. Why are we African American? I was like, I get, you know, you got a
They
point.
do call them
You can't-
Afro Latinas and shit.
Yeah, that is
but,
true.
But
So you
I,
gotta-
I ain't never met an African Jamaican. That's something you would never say. And technically, they started where we started.
I want to kind of try to get this as quickly as
Yeah,
I
go
can
ahead.
because I know we're getting down with time. So I said this on one episode. I said when you take away racism, you have to replace it with something. Because racism gave us a standard of what American was, and that was white. Now you got to insert nationalism, and that is who's American. And I think when you look at who's American, that looks diverse. That looks like a different group of people that have to have some allegiance to our country. When we start talking about ethnicity, that's why we're so confused. That's why we have to say foundational Black American, descendants of slaves, because you do have Black people in Jamaica that was slaves. You got people that was in Cuba that was slaves. When you think about Latinos, that's a wide group of people. They're not just Spaniard. They have indigenous, they have African, they have a lot of different things. So usually when we're talking about these other countries, we're talking about who's American and who's not. I want to also land here, and then whoever wants to chime in. It was implied in the 14th Amendment that they were talking about Black people. I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
It was implied because that's who was here. The Anglo-Saxon comes, gets away from the monarchy, brings the African slave, and spends hundreds of years here. There was no way that they knew in the 1800s what the immigration policy was. The 14th Amendment is not covering immigration policy, but it does say in the Constitution that Congress will come up with a way to naturalize citizens, and that's where it should be. Let's be honest, the 3 Reconstruction Amendments, it does pertain to us. So back to your point.
The 14th Amendment, it does, because there's 3 sections in that whole, it does try to address citizenship, but the way it addresses it is to basically take the power away from the states to determine what's a citizen. That's how Donald Trump, the Supreme Court, remember the ruling, the Colorado Supreme Court tried to sue him to get him off the ballot.
Right.
They used, I think it was Section 3, or Section 2, the clause of the 14th Amendment, which basically says that if you're an elected official that has incited some type of riot or insurrection against the United States government, you'll be banned from being on the ballot. The way that it's interpreted, though, it supported Donald Trump. It supported Donald Trump. But the way it was taught to me recently, because I was confused about it, it's essentially was put in there to ensure that the states don't have the power to tell you what an actual citizen of the United States of America is.
Facts. But here's my pushback on that, because what happens is a lot of times people try to use this interpretation and say, we're this country of immigrants. Again, you have to look at it all 3. And we got to understand what's going on. Even when you look at the Dred Scott case, like Donald Trump, at least when he talked about that, he got somebody in his ear spitting some real shit, because they know they have an immigration issue that they got to address. But when you look at the abolishment, they abolished slavery. So once slavery is abolished, you got black codes. So the states, you can't be no damn citizen. So they got to come with the 14th Amendment. The erroneous, and they give us the right to vote in the 15th Amendment. But the erroneous thing that they did, and this is where the hatred and the racism comes towards us, they did not directly say that. They didn't directly say that. It's kind of the whole thing about, well, if I'm gonna do it for black people, I'm gonna do it for everybody.
Well,
but
I mean,
it was
that
implied.
At that time, like the only other group of people who probably even would have had a conversation for immigration would have probably been the Chinese. Because you got to think about
They come later, yeah.
You think about the railroad system and that being built. There's a conversation about that with the Chinese. You could say maybe with Hispanic people, but I don't think it would.
I can see that too, because again, when I say, and I want to fact check this too, when we talk about Tejano people, they was here. You can't get me to believe that there wasn't a group of people that were in Texas that just stayed once it got infused into America. So it's going to address some things, but of course, once they write that rule in, it is the protection for the African slaves. But Kim Ark is who comes. It's funny you say that. He's a Chinese. He was born here. He goes to China. they have some kind of act where you can't be an American citizen if you're China, whatever. And he comes back and takes it to Supreme Court, and that's kind of what solidifies the immigrant argument. So it's a very touchy, like it all has to be interpreted. You know what I'm saying? A certain way. Are we running out of time? I just went okay. It all has to be interpreted, but hey, this is the conversation that we need to have. Two conversations, I think, and I'm gonna take us out of here. Is I think black people have to have this. We need more black media. Just gonna be honest, specifically black media that talks to our people because we are uninformed. And two, we need to realize that we are Americans. We are Americans. We're not a part of another nation. This is our country, and we need to understand how it's ran and what's the base of it. Hey, I'm glad y'all tuned in. Y'all already know if you felt some kind of way and this bothered you, just get in the comments so we can talk about it and argue. Sometimes I check the comments and sometimes I argue with you and sometimes I don't. Hey, don't forget to hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Throw 50K in the chat. Y'all already know what we doing because we got the 50,000 subscriber movement, man. Again, I'm Boy G, the Charm Guy. Y'all was tuning into the Charm Hour this evening, and I'll see you next show.
All right.
That was the whole segment.